Hello and welcome to the review video for Learning Target AA1. This review sheet will give you a great preview. It's not going to give you every question on the test, but it will give you a good idea of what to study for. Let's start with number 1. First off, I'm going to take my -3 and I'm going to distribute it through. So I'm going to have 4x plus 24 equals -6 plus 8. Not plus 8, plus 24. Y. Now the question asks you to solve for y. So keep that in mind, you want y by itself. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. I'm going to have 4x plus 30 equals 24y. And I'm going to divide everything by 24. I really would like you to reduce your fractions. Remember that 4 divided by 24, if you just put it in your calculator, and I'm doing that right now just to mimic it for you, and then you do math, and then do fraction, and then press enter, it'll give it to you as a fraction. So it's going to be 1x over 6 plus 5 over 4. Okay? Now, if you don't and you just write your answer like 4x over 24 plus 30 over 24, am I going to die? Probably not, but it's very good practice to reduce your fractions. Okay, let's keep moving on. The next one says to solve for m. So we literally just need to subtract 12n from both sides, and I get 4m equals -12n plus 24. And then I'm going to divide everything by 4. And I get m is equal to -3n plus 6. The next one is the inequality, and I have to say that this is something a lot of people get incorrect, and so you really need to make sure you're focused on this, and it's when you're dividing by negatives. First off, we're solving for y. I'm going to take 2 and distribute it through, and I get 10x plus 4y minus 10 is less than 2x minus 8y. Then what I do is I'm trying to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4y from both sides. So I get 10x minus 10 is less than 2x minus 12y. And then I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And I get 8x minus 10 is less than -12y. And then I'm going to divide everything by -12. Now I realize I have an equal sign up here with the number 3, and I'm sorry about that. So you're going to have to actually write it out. Remember, 8 divided by 12, 8/12 can reduce to 2/3. So it's going to be -2/3 x minus 10 over 12 will reduce to 5/6. It's going to be plus 5/6, right? Because these are both negatives. And then remember that inequality, you need to change the direction. So since it's less than, it becomes greater than y. Okay. Pardon me. Please make sure that you really focus on changing the direction of the inequality. And I'm actually going to circle, put a box around my answer so you can see it there. This last one so many people get tripped up on, and you shouldn't let this trip you up, and this is why. Just treat these like numbers. So first I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. What if that was a letter? Just subtract it. You're just moving it. All of these rules still apply to each other. And I'm trying to solve for y. I have a square root. So I'm going to square both sides. You don't need to actually physically square m minus 2. You can, but I think it's a waste of time. Is y by itself yet? No. So I'm going to add 5. This is what I get. Y equals, parentheses, m minus 2 squared plus 5. And you know what? I'm going to write it over here so you see what I'm doing. That's all you need to do. You don't need to simplify anything. That's just not necessary. You just need to keep everything on one side and y on the other side. Okay, let's go on to the next page. Okay, this is talking about my next learning target, and which is all about nth roots, radicals, rationals, anything in between. Just checking something real quick. There we go. Okay, so let's move on to this one. And this one asks you to solve this. Now, there's a variety of ways to solve this, but I am going to, and you can undo the fraction, that's fine. I'm going to show you by rewriting it first, and just because I think that that's better. So I'm going to do 16 equals the fourth root, parentheses 10 minus 5x to the third. So the first thing I need to do is raise both sides to the fourth power. So remember 16 to the fourth power is 65,536, parentheses 10 minus 5x to the third. Now I need to take the cubed root. And that gives me 40.32 equals 10 minus 5x. Okay? I'm going to minus 10, and I'm going to get 30.32 equals negative 5x, and then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. And you're going to get approximately negative 6.06. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say on this one. I think that rewriting takes more time. I actually think you should raise it to the 4/3 because then that really shows you how to undo the fraction. But I also think we talked so much about rewriting that it's probably better if that makes more sense to you to do it this way. You're going to get the same answer no matter what. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, come and see me. Okay, so the radical is isolated here, so I need to square both sides. And I get 10 minus 5x equals x minus 2 times x minus 2. That's what x minus 2 squared means. It is so important. It's so important that we're going to put this on our cheat sheet. We're going to FOIL that through, and I'm going to get x squared, because it's x times x times negative 2 times x, and negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2x plus negative 2x is negative 4x, and then negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Now, I hope that you see you have a squared. That should trigger two things. One, it should remind you that you're going to have two answers, and two, it should also remind you that you have to use the quadratic formula. So I'm going to subtract 10 from 4, and I'm going to add 5x to 4x. Now I have my problem. 0 equals x squared, and I just wrote a 4x instead of a 5, plus x minus 6. Now I'm going to run out of room here, so I'm going to write out the quadratic formula for you. And remember that a is 1, b is 1, and c is negative 6. So it's negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6 over 2 times 1. First thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to verbally say this, is I'm going to put everything in the square root. So I'm going to do second x squared 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6. I get 5, which is great. Okay. Then I'm going to write negative 1 plus or minus 5 over 2. Okay, they're going to have two answers, right? Negative 1 plus 5 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. Negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6, divided by 2 is negative 3. So you have 2, comma, negative 3. Don't get tripped up by these problems. You can do these problems. You just have to start working on them. And you know, I will be honest with you, I don't think there's enough space on here. So if this was me, I'd do this on a separate sheet of paper, which you're more than able to do in class, and then write out my steps. I don't like to go left to right. I like to go down. That's okay. Do that if you need to. Don't let something like space or a long problem prevent you from getting an A. Okay, it's enough of my pep talk. I'm going to multiply everything first by 4 because we need to clear the fractions. So it's 4 times 2x over 4. And it is 4 times x over 8 equals 4 times 6. So these 4's cancel out, and I get 2x plus 4x over 8 equals 24. Now I'm going to multiply everything by 8. 8 times 2x, 8 times 4x over 8, and 24 times 8. Okay, so I get 16x plus 4x, because those 8's cancel out, equals 192. Pardon me. 16 plus 4 is 20, so I get 20x equals 192. When I divide both sides by 20, I get x equals 9.6. Okay? Notice I'm asking you to put your answers on the side here. That's for me to grade these quickly. Okay? If I don't see them, I'm not going to go searching around, so do it. Okay, next problem is, again, a radical. It is isolated, which is great. So I'm going to square both sides. I get 12 plus 2x equals 36. I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, and I get 2x equals 24. Divide by 2, and I get x equals 12. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, so here's number 9. This is what I'd like you to do. I'm not going to give you a problem like that with the x plus 2. I'd like you just to change that to 2. And we're going to do the same in class. Okay? And this is what we're going to do. We're going to have 4 absolute value, 2x plus 5 absolute value minus 2 equals 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And then I'm going to get 4. And I'm going to divide by 4. And that's 1. Now here's the step where people, remember absolute value, and this will make more sense next chapter when we do the graphs. You need to have 2x plus 5 equals 1, and 2x plus 5 equals negative 1. Okay, I'm going to minus 5, and I get 2x equals negative 4, and I get x equals 2. I'm going to minus 5 again, and I get 2x equals negative 6, divide by 2, and I get x equals negative 3. Okay, I think that problem got better. Now I'm going to say this in class tomorrow. What I want you to do is I don't want you to graph this twice. I just want you to graph both of these on the same one as like a system. I know that 4x plus 2y is in the incorrect form. So let's change it. First, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And then I get 2y is less than or equal to negative 4x plus 12. And I'm going to divide by 2. And I get y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 6. That's what I'm going to ask you to do on your test, so you might as well just do it now. I have negative 2x plus 6. So the first one I'm going to start at negative 4. I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, 2 over 1. And it's a dashed line. It's really hard to do on here. It's greater than, so I'm going to draw above the line. Okay? The next one's going to start at 6. It's going to go down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. And it's a solid line, and it's saying shade below. This is your region. That's the same, and I'm actually going to highlight that in this color. That's the region. That is your answer. It means any point in that region will fulfill both inequalities. Okay? Okay, your test is only 3 pages, but I really gave you a lot of room on this thing. Okay, last page. Let's start simplifying these right here. I'm going to go back to black. So there's 2 things I'm going to do here. First, I'm going to add on the top because 9 plus 6 is 15. And I have x to the negative 1 and y to the 3rd. I'm going to then simplify my y's. I'm going to do 15 minus 3, and then it's going to be y to the 12th. And then we don't like negatives, so if there's a negative in the denominator, I'll move it back up to the numerator. That's my answer. Okay, so let's do this one for number 12. First off, I'm going to multiply both of those. So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, and 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. Both of them are in the wrong spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip them. This will go on top, the x will go on bottom, and voila, they're not negatives anymore. Okay, so this one right here, great thing. We're going to rewrite it, and there is no rewriting. How do I get rid of a 4th? I'm going to raise it to the 4th root. So I'm going to take the 4th root of x to the 4th and the 4th root of 64. And it's 2.83. Okay, so right here, I'm going to rewrite again, and I'm going to make it the square root of x to the 3rd equals 4. Okay, so first I'm going to square both sides, and I get 16. So x cubed equals 16. And then I'm going to take the 3rd root of both sides. And I get 2.52. Okay, so I think you can cross off 15. It's not necessary for your success. I had this from last year. Anything else that I think you should study? I would definitely look through my notes, making sure I know when I have 2 solutions, when I have 1. But the biggest error I saw last year was quadratic formulas. People just kind of gave up on those problems, and you know it well enough to not give up. Okay? So this is the end of the video. I hope you do great on your tests. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. Come see me at Flexed on Thursday. However I can help. Thank you.